Now heading to New York City to discuss the stalled diplomatic talks. This as U.S. officials are meeting with North Korea's counterparts in the DMZ. President Trump tweeting on this, saying, "We have put a great team together for our talks with North Korea. Meetings are currently taking place concerning summit and more." Kim Young-chol, the vice chairman of North Korea, heading to New York. Solid response to my letter. Thank you. President Trump says that he will also meet with Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on June 7th. Here now to discuss Dr. William Parker, retired U.S. Navy captain, also former Naval Surface Forces Chief of Staff Rebecca Grant, former Secretary of the Air Force official, currently IRIS Independent Research President, and Dean Cheng, Heritage Foundation East Asian expert. Dean, let me start with you on this. Listen, I got to be honest. I never really thought the summit was off, and I always thought even that June 12th date was possible. Now that it seems like we're barreling back toward that, should our hopes also barrel back a bubble to the top that maybe something historic is going to happen?
Well, certainly something historic might happen, but it's sort of like the line, it's not over till it's over. There's not going to be a summit until there's a summit. So at this point, I think a lot of folks are hoping there is one. And if it happens, it'll be historic, but I certainly wouldn't bet the rent money on it.
Okay. Rebecca, not necessarily betting the rent money on it, but the stakes are sort of higher than the rent money, right? And it just seems to me, again, over the weekend, we see yet another meeting between the leaders of the Korean Peninsula at the DMZ, this time on the North Korean side. We see the bro hug. It feels that every party involved really wants something to happen this time.
The momentum is huge. There's a pre-advance team in Singapore, and Kim Young-chol, very significant. This man is a top military commander, spy, personal friend of the Kim family. So to me, his arrival in the United States means that we're getting very close to make or break time. Can they work out an agenda and get those initial movements going for the summit?
What are those initial movements, Rebecca? What are you talking about?
Well, so Kim Jong-un wants security guarantees, and the U.S. and our allies want denuclearization. We're not clear on exactly what that means. I like to see this as not the last summit, but the first probably of a few summits. But they're going to need to come up with something, and Kim Young-chol will be talking about what the security guarantee means and denuclearization.
So, Dr. Parker, is it unreasonable to think that perhaps we get the framework out of this first meeting, the type of framework that seems reasonable and keeps optimism elevated?
I think that, first of all, that Dean and Rebecca are spot on here, and I think framework is the right way to look at this. Remember, this isn't the end game you're talking about here. This is a step towards that denuclearization. I think this is an opportunity, though, for us to define what denuclearization is, how Japan defines it, how China defines it, how North Korea and all of the players, including the United States, define that term.
Well, how do you think North Korea defines it now vis-a-vis the way we defined it?
Well, I think that North Korea is probably looking at a flatter term where we're looking at more, we, the United States, is looking at a term that includes all weapons of mass destruction, all missile capabilities, not only now, but that capability into the future.
Dean, could that also include irreversible abilities? In other words, okay, it's one thing to stall it, it's one thing to put it on hiatus, but could we also demand that there's no chance that they could even restart their nuclear ambitions?
We can demand that, but it's going to be incredibly difficult. North Korea has thousands of miles of tunnels. It is an incredibly secretive and opaque society. The flip side is the North Koreans are very likely to demand as their version of denuclearization an end to the U.S. commitment to the security of South Korea, perhaps even an end to the U.S.-South Korean alliance, which I hope is a non-starter from our point of view.
Sure.
So,
well, Rebecca, though, President Trump has made many overtures here in the last couple of weeks about the economics of it all, that North Korea's people, they look down. Listen, we know that Kim Jong-un himself looks at South Korea and those bullet trains and all that economic prosperity, that can be yours, too, if you just get rid of the nukes.
Yes, if he denuclearizes, the economic incentives are huge. Kim has said it's not about that. We know he also wants to be seen as a peacemaker, but absolutely yes, economics will seal this deal.
And also, Dr. Parker, before we go, the ability to promise Kim Jong-un that he'll be safe. I guess safe, but that means also he won't be overthrown or there won't be any outside intervention. Can we make that promise?
Well, I think we absolutely need to make that promise, and I think part of that is looking at Mongolia, looking at other opportunities out there, saying that there are possibilities that this can happen.